If I was being strangled, I guess I'd be like this. All right, I'll admit it, I was completely wrong. It doesn't sound the same at all. In this gig bag is a Fender American Pro Classic Jaguar. And in this video, I'm going to review it. Headstock reveal. Oh, I hate that noise. Oh. This is Faded Sherwood Green. And it's a bit more blue than I expected. It's almost teal in its appearance. But I dig it. And I know that I'm going to be the only YouTuber reviewing this guitar in this color.
I can't believe I'm the only YouTuber to pick this color. Oh, man.
Right, it's very squeaky because it's new out of the box. And, of course... Oh, I've just ripped that. That's the hand tag. Oh, no. I ripped the hang tag doing that, but thank you to these people for packing the guitar. I might have met you when I was on the Fender factory visit. Oh. Oh! That neck is satin and gorgeous. I love a satin neck. I'm not a glossy neck fan. It is a modern C, which makes me gip a little bit, but it feels okay. There's a bit more shoulder than I was expecting. Nah, it's small. It's modern C. What is small is the scale length. Right. If you often wonder what's the difference between this and, say, a Strat, apart from the only having two pickups, this is a shorter scale length, meaning from here to here, than on a Fender Strat. Let's just get that out of the way. They don't sound the same because of that. And also a Strat doesn't do that. Right, let's find the whammy bar. Right, we've got in this bag. That's it. Little Fender care package, which includes 2 Allen keys, the manual, and full guide on how to play guitar. Not really. And the whammy bar, which I will poke out the smallest hole I can make. There we go. How does it pop in? It does pop in. And it stays in. Nice. Bit dusty because of the plastic bag. Right, let's get to the potential elephant in the room. This part of the Jag. If you are a Jag fan, you might be thinking, oh, what's this going on up here? This is a strangle switch. And I don't know what it does, but we are going to find out. Gonna go through the Fender Deluxe Reverb, of course. That is really bright. I'm quite surprised. Let's try the neck. I think the strangle switch might be on. Okay, that's what the strangle switch does. It seems to cut the bass off, or I don't know which way is on or off, but one of these settings is more trebly and less bassy than the other. Now you might be screaming at the screen because you know what the strangle switch does, but I've got this before Fender have released it, before it's in the shops, and I had no documentation explaining what that does. But that's what it does. It makes it thinner or thicker, depending on which one's on or which one's off. If I was being strangled, I guess I'd be like this! So, yeah, the bass would go out. At the moment, I don't know what the point of the strangle switch is. Or if I... Well, of course, I'd love more tonal options with just the flip of a switch. But currently, I would just leave it there. Maybe that will change when we do some distortion. I think the pickups sound great. It's very vintage. Very. I'm suddenly transported back to this sort of soul-y, almost Motown era, which I don't normally get from this amp. I would normally consider using a sort of Fender Tweed for that sound. The guitar screams vintage tone at me, but I think it might be because of the music that I'm playing through it. So let's put a pedal through the amp and see how it deals with a bit more gain. If you hit the strangle switch when you're on the neck pickup, it sounds like the bridge pickup without the strangle switch, a little bit. Let's do a comparison, stick with me, of the neck with the strangle switch on versus the bridge with the strangle switch off. Alright, I'll admit it, I was completely wrong. It doesn't sound the same at all. However, it does make the neck sound more bridgy. Right, let's increase the gain again and see if this single coil guitar will do well with some nastier riffs. Alright, now I get it. The strangle switch takes the woolliness away from the neck when you're distorted. It's very useful because it gives me another kind of bridgy tone, but without being woolly and without having to change any settings on tonal elements of my rig. It is going to upset Jaguar purists, but I don't care. I like it. If you don't like it, you could probably switch it out for a real Jaguar switch setup. This is one of those guitars where I could play forever. It is extremely comfortable. I love short scale Fenders. Big fan of the Kurt Cobain Jaguar. Big fan of the Mustang, but I make the Mustang look small. I make Strats look small. In fact, let's compare this to a Strat. Where's my Strat? There. Here. There we go. Just, in fact, you probably can't see it that way. Hang on. I'll put it so that the neck meeting the body is... This, wait, I can't hold this. Right, here we go. Right. There, which one's which? There. That's that. And if I hold it this way with the Jaguar in front and line them up neck pocket to neck pocket, you can see that the Strat is a bit longer. I don't want to damage the guitars. Hang on. Have I got it right? Yes. Wait, what? Ah. Last fret to last fret. Yeah. There we go. Can you see that down there? That's how much difference we have. Did a terrible job of that, sorry. It is time that I get to play with this and we test the tremolo. So, where's that button? That's locked. That's open. Let's have a go. Let's turn the distortion off and whack up the reverb. I do tend to dive bomb these as well, so I apologize in advance. You might have heard that little ping just at the end. Ding! But this is straight out of the box. I've done no work to it at all. Wow. Being a bit conservative with the reverb there. Now, let's do that, but with the bridge pickup, which I'll admit, with the strangle switch on, is a bit ice-picky. I think that sounds great. We've got a Mustang bridge on here, by the way, if you haven't noticed. I should take you through the specs. Let's talk about the specs. So, you are looking at the Fender American Pro Classic Jaguar in Faded Sherwood Green. We've got a gloss urethane finish, so it's not nitro, which I would have loved, but it doesn't feel plastic in any way. It feels good. It feels like it's going to get protected. The body is made of alder, the neck is made of maple, that is a satin finish on there which is absolutely gorgeous. The fingerboard is rosewood and these are medium jumbo frets. There are 22 of them and that is a 9.5-inch radius on that. Then up here we've got some classic vintage tuners, a synthetic bone nut, and then a string tree which looks like it's on one of the more expensive ones. Volume, tone, vintage style trem, strangle switch, three-way switch selecting neck, both in parallel or bridge. Round on the back we've got the Jaguar curves that you'd expect, plus a standard Fender heel. The pickups in these I haven't seen before. They're called the 62 Coastline single coil Jaguar pickups. And they're obviously vintage voiced. They sound absolutely great. There's a little bit of microphonic feedback coming from it, which I kind of like. If I just turn that on, you can hear when I switch the switches. And if this was a professional Strat for club gigs or some sort of commercial thing that I was on stage, I wouldn't want that because I'd want silence when I'm not playing. However, I like it in this. I like this about Jazzmasters and Jaguars where you have this sort of I always say it looks like an acoustic chamber, which is my own term, but I think it rocks. Now, one thing I don't know about this guitar is the price, because I have this before release. I did manage to find it on some Japanese websites selling it for what is the equivalent of about 1,400 euros. If that is the price of this, I'll be very surprised. I was expecting this to be more 2,000 euros, $2,000 in that kind of area. If it is under 1,500, absolutely phenomenal guitar. If it's under 2,000, there's a lot more thought gone into that, and that's what I'd expect from a guitar at that price point. If it's over 2,000, you're going to have to really love this to want to buy it. Now, it's not just all about Jaguars. Fender have got many more guitars in this series. There's, of course, a Strat and a Tele. There's also a Jazzmaster. There's a Jaguar. There's a Mustang bass and a P bass. And I'm here for all of it. However, I had to go for the Jaguar because I just think the Jaguar stands out as something special. I'd love to try the Strat in this range, but there's so many Strats on the market. I think this one stands out and needed to be played. I need to have a look at what's going on inside that pickup area. So let's put it on the bench and find out what's going on inside there. Being a Jaguar, I'm going to have to take the bridge off, but I don't think I need to take the neck off. It looks like we've got a rounded pocket just there, which should just slip off. I hope so. So, capo at the first fret to make sure I don't lose my strings, because these are vintage tuners. All right, here we go. Will it come off? Yes! Oh, that looks pretty cool. Oh, I like that. Right. Let's stop looking at the aesthetics. Let's look at the quality of the build. You might notice that there's no swimming pool route in here. Everything's going through these little channels. We've got the pushback cloth wiring just there, so it's nice they've kept the classic way of doing things just here. And I'm surprised at how well that's in that channel. Let's take these two off. This switch is very sticky in the sense that it really clicks into position, and I like that. I don't like a switch that jumps out of place. Some of you have commented that that indicates a cheap switch. I don't think so. I don't think you have any issues with that whatsoever. Nothing is shielded, of course, which is an interesting choice. I'm not sure if that's regular for a Jaguar. I haven't seen inside as many Jaguars as I have Strats and Teles, for example. What about you, strangle switch? No, let's save you for last. I know how to YouTube. Right, what's going on? Ah, finally we found the barcode. Ooh, that is an exciting pot. Look at that. Is that a Fender grease bucket circuit, or is it just a Fender thing? That's a 500k pot, and it looks like that one is as well. Can't really tell because of the solder. Mr. E, or Mrs. E. Someone called E did that. Or M. No, that's an upside down E. Oh, there's another sticker just here. What does that say? It says... Robot 1! Thank you, Robot 1. Thank you. And now finally, we get to look at the strangle switch. Here it comes. Ta-da! Oh no, very short wire. What an anticlimax. Can I turn that around? Yes. Right, we've got a switch with a lot of poles being redundant, so you could wire that for something else if you wanted to. And then around there, we've got just a capacitor. What is the value of that? I need new glass. I need better glasses. The whole thing feels very well put together. It feels like it could have had a bit of a better clean before it was finalized. Like we've got a lot of this polishing compound still left on it. And I know Fender are mass producing guitars, but I'd like to see that improve. In fact, maybe that's not polishing compound. Maybe it's doesn't taste like polishing compound. I'm kidding. Don't ever put your fingers in your mouth when you've got a guitar open. You never know what it might be. It could be polishing compound, or it could be some of the finish it's got in there. But it's a dust of some kind. While we're here, we can take a look at the frets, and they felt great. If I run this across, that's just smooth as butter. No problems. Now, before I plug it back in and make sure that it works, let's check the output of the pickups. Or the DC resistance, I should say, before I upset some of the super nerds. Right, plugging that in there, and everything on max. That is 6.4. The neck, 6.0. In the middle, 3.1. Strangle switch, does that do anything? It sends it nuts. It boosts it to 500. What the heck? The strangle switch defies physics. Wow. I don't know what that means. If anyone that's cleverer than me can clarify that, please, I'd really appreciate it. Before I get the guitar back in my hands, let's have a look at the gig bag. The case itself is perfectly serviceable. If you are nice to it, it will be nice to your guitar. It isn't a flight case, but it will do most people most days. And I would rather have this than 100 cases. I'd rather have one case for several guitars and then have this. I'd rather buy my own case is what I'm trying to say. That is enough case talk from me. Let's get back to the guitar. Right, let's find out how much it weighs. I'm guessing, let's tear that. I'm guessing just 3.4. Oh, I must be a bit stronger than I thought I was. 3.95, which in freedom money is £8.10. Okay. Skip the gym this week. Right, let's put a strap on. And yeah, I mean, it's perfect. Needs a tune. When I say perfect, I mean that it hangs exactly where you'd expect it to hang if it's down there. I mean, that's made for me. I love my SGs, but yeah, it's nice when a guitar behaves itself. Got to tune this. Now, there is one thing I did not test, and that is the tone knob. It works. It's a very subtle roll off rather than a sudden jump. I prefer that with my tone knobs unless I'm trying to do the wah wah thing. What does it do if you have that all the way down and the strangle switch on? Okay, it gives you almost no output when you have the strangle switch on and the tone down. You're taking it from both sides, I think. Now, my final word on the American Professional Classic Faded Sherwood Green Jaguar from Fender is number one, that's a heck of a mouthful and the names are just getting longer and longer and longer. If you're looking for a Jaguar that is vintage voiced, this hits a very good sweet spot. I'm not sure about the strangle switch. I think that might upset some people. I personally don't do much with this area. I tend to stick with this area anyway, so I kind of like that because it gives me an instant tonal option rather than, oh my goodness, what am I doing? One could argue that if you're going to go vintage Jaguar, you shouldn't have done that, but if you're going to go vintage Jaguar, you shouldn't have done Mustang Bridge either. So Fender are making choices for the player here rather than trying to authentically recreate stuff they did many, many years ago. Apart from the tones, my favourite feature has to be this neck. It is one of the best necks I've ever felt, and I even forgive it for being Modern C. I wish I knew the price of this thing because it makes it so hard to make a full judgment, so I can't. If you do want to know the prices, there are going to be links in the video description and in the first comment. Let me know what you think of this Jaguar down in the comments section, and I will meet you down there. See you in the next one. Bye-bye!